The real cowboys are coming to town. The richest and largest one-day rodeo ever is coming to the AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, March 2nd. Come be a part of the history and watch the best in the world battle it out for a $2 million purse with RFD-TV's The American. Let's roll.
About 7 years ago, Jerry Jones and I had discussed possibly doing a rodeo, and it didn't really fit into my plans, right? You know, I was with the professional bull riders, and we were so specifically oriented on focusing on professional bull riding. I didn't have time to put on a rodeo. And then when I was with the IndyCar, of course, I was 100% focused on IndyCar. So after that, I had seen Jerry at the Indianapolis at the Super Bowl and a couple other places, and so the idea was always still fresh. And when I left and Patrick Gotch asked me, he said, hey, we need some flagship events. What would be a big event for us that could be a life-changing type of an event that could be really big? And I said, I believe I have one.
RFD-TV proudly presents The American. Be part of history.
This is in honor and respect of what Freckles Brown and Jim Shoulders and the guys did for rodeo before us. And they took it to the highest level possible. Casey Tibbs came up with the idea of the National Finals Rodeo, and it was time that somebody did something for rodeo that was huge, and Randy Bernard was the guy to step in and do it. And the American is the beginning of a new type of huge rodeo.
RFD-TV and these sanctioning bodies are looking to revolutionize the sport of rodeo for the better.
And Patrick Gotch has really said, hey, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right. And the first thing we did was went out and was able to attract Joe Libero, who was my favorite producer at the PBR. He did an outstanding job for us there. He was with the Kansas City Royals. I convinced him to come over here and produce the semis and then the American. We were calling it the World Cowboy Challenge as the holding spot, and everybody was like, it doesn't really fit. And Patrick came to my office and goes, Randy, that name sucks. So we said, well, think of a better name. Let's name it something different. He came up with a bunch of names, and I'm like, no, those aren't good either. And so we went over into one of our conference rooms, and we pulled out a whiteboard, and we started writing names up there. And we were getting disappointed and disgusted with our names, and we'd given up, and we said, no, we're not leaving here till we have a name. And all of a sudden, Patrick wrote up there American. And the next thing we did was we put the in front of it, and we're like, hey, that has just a feel to it. And there's nothing more American than rodeo. And I don't think that any cowboy or cowgirl or someone that lives in the Western lifestyle that doesn't bleed red, white, and blue. So it was the perfect name.
Randy, once he went to work for RFD-TV, the time and the place was just perfect, and to tie it all into one weekend with the PBR Iron Cowboy and the American all in the same weekend. Huge bull riding, biggest one-day rodeo ever. It's just going to be a great weekend for rodeo.
There are many rodeo events that are great attractions for fans. However, there is yet to be that one-day event that has been able to pay out this sum of money. Every sport needs a large impact moment, and this will be the defining day for the best rodeo athletes in the world.
I think the Iron Cowboy and the American reach different demographics. When I was at PBR, it was one of the things I always said, is that there's two different demographics here. The PBR reaches a little younger and also a little bit more East Coast. You know, at one point, 60% of the PBR World Finals audience came from east of Mississippi. So By delivering a PBR with the American, I think we've had a perfect storm in really delivering people. If they're going to come for one, they might as well come and see the best of both.
To me, this is the coolest thing that's happened to rodeo in a long, long time, and it's a step in a great direction for rodeo to build something for television and to build a weekend where everybody wants to be there. And I think that everybody that loves rodeo should buy a ticket and show up to the American, because this is our way, our time and our way that we can help grow this sport in a way that I've never seen this kind of opportunity before.
It's our masters of rodeo. I mean, the NFR is the Super Bowl, and it should always be that way. We're not trying to replace an event, we're trying to add events to bring celebrity, fame, and big money, and that's what we're trying to do with the American.
Well, the top contestants in the world in every event in rodeo are there. The top 10 in the world were invited. In the top 10 from the PRCA, from the National Finals Rodeo, were invited in everything except bull riding, and it was the top 10 PBR bull riders invited.
Bringing the best cowboys in the world is a no-brainer. That works. It works in every sport, and that was the first primary focus. The second focus was on the qualifiers. There's so many cowboys and cowgirls that can't compete because they have families. They can't go to 120 rodeos or 80 rodeos. So what I want to do is say, okay, if you think you're good enough, Cord McCoy, you can go to the qualifier, compete, make it the semis, compete there, and still make it.
And there were events all over the country, team roping jackpots, calf roping jackpots, barrel racing jackpots, where they could pay a side entry fee to try to qualify for the semifinals for the American, and then 5 more from there. The top 5 finishers from those got to go to the American.
January 24th. Finished third in Chicago last weekend. Top 10 contender, Newton Denver.
Was liable to work out at a good 90-point bull ride, and so now I get to go to the American, which I'm, ecstatic about. It's been one of my little small goals, working up, to the deal that by Pueblo I was going to have it made, and I told people that, and now I get to go home and tell them I told you so. That goal, it's a small goal, but yet it's one that was reachable, and I reached it, and therefore that gives me, self-confidence, knowing that I can go, compete for $1 million against the best guys in the world.
And the last objective was the part on reinvigorating the older fans by bringing in exemptions. And other sports have this, and I think it's so important. The sport invests thousands and thousands of dollars promoting them in their time, and yet when they leave the sport, they're gone.
And they invited one of the all-time legends in each event that they felt could still be competitive.
You're going to see a lot of different scenarios at the American. You're going to see your top 10 guys or girls in the various events, and they're there because that's what they do for a living. And then you've got some guys to see, you know what, if I ever would have left home, could I have competed with these guys? And then you got me that's doing it just because I think I still can, and it's the only way I know to have a chance at making that kind of money. And that really is a drive. I wish there was some heroic story of something that was really cool to say of why I'm doing it, but it really is because I've got a chance to win $1 million, and that's the only thing I know how to do in life where I've got a chance to make that kind of money.
Never ridden against Justin McBride. Used to watch him on TV, look up to him. He was one of my heroes, and they said he's breaking back out for the American, so I'm looking forward to go hang my bull rope up next to him.
There's something to be said for being 19 years old and being too dumb to be scared, and not really being aware of big moments. There's something to be said for that. That's something, if you could bottle up that mindset of you're not scared of anybody or any bull, that's, as a bull rider, that's the mindset you want to be in every event. And so I don't think I have an advantage on any of the young guys. You know, they've got youth on their side, and they're probably in better shape than me, but I know how to ride.
Ride, Justin. Have fun, man. Have
I have no desire to go try and compete for a season. I still loved riding, but I didn't like going all year. And I just had other stuff that I'd rather do. You know, I've got 2 kids now, and I like being able to, if they've got something going on, canceling whatever I've got going and going and doing stuff with them. Sometimes sitting up there talking about it all the time on TV, you kind of see one, this bull of Jeff Robinson's that I hadn't seen anybody riding. I was thinking, man, I just don't understand it. You know, you kind of want to go get on and see what the deal is about it. And but I don't really miss it. You know, I'm still around it some, I guess. Maybe that helps, I don't know. But to go get on a couple in one day for that kind of a payout, for a chance at that kind of a payout, yeah, that's something that, you know, I'm pretty excited about.
When I was a kid growing up, and I would rope that dummy till 10 o'clock every night, my dream was to make it to the National Finals Rodeo. That was how many times did you rope that 10th steer? How many times did you ride that 10th bull, you growing up dreaming about the NFR? And here's another one that I wanted kids to dream about, that they could get to without going to 125 rodeos. I think it's so exciting to see people like Weston Hughes that have made the semifinals, and these young cowboys that are our future. It gives them another opportunity to dream big and to reach their goals earlier in their life.
To ride in the American, it's definitely an honor. You know, it's going to be a great deal. It's the first of its kind, so it's going to be something to see for the fans also. But me personally, I'm just looking forward to it. I have rode at the AT&T Stadium before. It's humongous. It's a big place. It took me a while to get from one spot to another, but it's definitely a cool spot.
When you look at rodeo, it's a very traditional crowd, and I think it's really important that we start building a fan base outside of that, but not only outside of that, but really focusing on what we call a C&D counties, a county of 50,000 people or less. You know, there's 90% of our country lives in C&D counties, and there's 60 million people that live in those counties. So what I believe is that we could focus on those counties. Most of those know what rodeo is, and we just need to develop stars for the sport. So what we said was, listen, what we have to do is focus on the current fan base that rodeo has, but still reinvigorate the fan base that was 15, 20 years ago. And then how do we also incorporate something that gives the young cowboys, the 14-year-olds, the 12-year-olds, a place to dream. I mean, they have the National Finals Rodeo that they can dream about now. How do we give them one more place?
It's the first of its kind. It's big for the sport of rodeo, for bull riding, anything really, you know, that has to do with riding. It's huge. I personally think that's going to help develop the sport, take it maybe to the next level. This event's something the sport of rodeo and bull riding needs is something like this to take it a little bit farther and get rodeo and bull riding to the next level.
That is exactly what you came to see. Come on.
Well, the legends are rodeo supporters and rodeo fans, and they want to see this thing grow and work. So if that means riding one more bucking horse or bull or roping in another calf, hopefully they can win the $1 million. But if they can't, getting a lot of people out to see it and see how great the modern day contestants are, the top 10 from now and the up and coming contestants are, it'll be worth it.
This is going to give another dimension of the sport we've never seen. But what we have to do is show the sport and continue to show the sport in different ways that really just entice people to want to see the rodeo. We cannot continue to see our numbers decrease at high school and junior rodeos and expect our sport to grow stronger. We're kidding ourselves. We've got to do things that are going to help us with our youth and our grassroots programs. And I think it starts in making sure you deliver quality events at the top and taking care of your superstars at the top.
The way that JB Mooney finished off last season in the PBR and the way he's continued into this year, it doesn't look to me like a whole lot can buck him off right now. So if I just got to throw out how many I think can ride 2 other than myself, he's the guy I've got to throw out there because I think he is capable of doing it anytime, anywhere, on any sort of bull at this point in his career.
Everybody's been so supportive of this, and everybody wants to see the sport grow. And I think that's what's encouraging and exciting to me is that the long-term vision of the sport has so much potential, and hopefully this does give its helping hand on helping the Cowboys and the sport. And from every indication on ticket sales, I'm sitting here ear to ear smile because we reached our goals in our first year, and that was very important to us.
The format's just so cool because you'll see some guys that you'll never see at another rodeo again, or guys that you haven't seen for years that can still ride or rope or something, but they can't do it for a year, and they can't do it 100 times a year, but they might be pretty good one day.
I really do feel like if I can go in and ride 2 bulls, that I've got a really good chance of winning it, because it's going to be hard with the bulls that are going to be there for very many guys to ride 2 of them. You know, and that's the thing about a one-day deal. It's in the whole season you're working toward. It's only one chance, and so I feel like, you know, if I can ride 2, then my chances are pretty good.
You complement the qualifier with the greatest cowboys in the world with your exemptions, and we believe that you're going to have excitement that you've never seen.
As soon as the American's over, my rope is going straight back in the attic. And I don't think I'll ever get it back out unless they come up with something for $5 million or something, but I don't think I would ever get it back out.
We believe this has a solid future in our vision, but I think before we run, we have to walk, and we want to make sure we do it right this first year. We're going to know here in 6 days, so we're getting right down to the finals here and final details, and it's been such an exciting process, but we believe it has done a lot for the sport, and we believe it has a great future with it. You know, we have a lot of questions that we want to still address. You know, does this become a PRC rodeo eventually? Does it? How do we always better it? You know, and making sure that we're reaching out and driving what our future goal is. I want to see this pay $5 million in 5 years. We have had over 2,000 entries through our qualifying at $500, which 100% of that was paid out, which means we paid out $250,000 at qualifiers, we paid $250,000 at the semis, and $500,000 of that goes in toward the big money. And our goal is never to take any money out of that. 100% has to go back in. This event is such a difficult event to pull off. I think the only reason I'm pulling it off is because of my experience with PBR and my relationships from television to sponsors to cowboys. This is a one-time event that should have a tremendous future to it. It's something that we produce anywhere from 200 to 225 events a year at the PBR. But there's never been an event that I've been more excited about and more butterflies thinking about pulling this thing off, because it's got to be perfect. And it's something that's so, our teams work so hard on this, and they've just done so far a great job on it. But we're focused on making sure we can pull this off and do a great job and showcase the best cowboys and cowgirls in the world.
Well, the American's about here, and I feel like I'm ready to go, but all the talking and all the hype it's about to have to come down to the ride, and the talking part's about over, I think it's going to be an event like there's never been, and I hope that people show up and get behind this thing, because they're going to get to see some really cool stuff in the sport of rodeo, how a lot of it is all going to merge together right there, and I'm glad I'm going to get to be a part of it, and I sure hope I'm leaving it with $1 million in my pocket.